Hello and welcome back to this Library of Ruina series. In this video, we'll be taking on Red Riding Hooded Mercenary, Scarecrow Searching for Wisdom, and Pinocchio. These fights have some interesting gimmicks, so let's get started. Gebra's first abnormality is Red Riding Hooded Mercenary. In this fight, you side with Red Riding Hood in order to kill the wolf from her nightmare. This is another spike in difficulty for many players, as you can't just get a win, because if Red Riding Hood doesn't get the kill on the wolf, then she'll become enraged and basically ruin any chances of you winning the fight. Because of this, I've made a strategy guide to help you if you get stuck on this fight. This strategy is based on 2 Emmas with 3 Puppet Blockade, 2 Mannequin, 2 Forceful Gesture, 1 Repressed Flesh, and 1 Evade. They should have Puppet Skeleton, Concussion, and Battle Ready. Your last character will be Eugen Brink deck, but instead of 3 tailoring, run 2 Mannequin and 1 Puppet Blockade. The idea is to give the wolf a large amount of debuffs. Against Cruel Claws and Ferocious Fangs, any of your non-light regen pages can clash into it decently. Just use your best judgment for your light and HP level. The main problem with these pages is the counter die that can give the wolf a lot of strength if you clash poorly into it. The counter die are part of the reason why we run Mannequin, which has a disarm to lower the clashing power as well as clashing well into the counter die. Another reason why we run it is that it clashes quite well into Bloodstained Hunt. Faint Memories and Repressed Flesh also clash well into it. The wolf's last card is Howl, which is a mass summation that rolls 7 to 11, and if it hits, then you'll take 5 stagger damage. Again, your non-light regen card should be able to easily beat it, but notably, if it targets Eugen's broken die, then she'll be unable to retaliate and always get hit. It might be wise to put a Mind Hauler on her to prevent her from getting staggered, which I found was an issue when I was running this fight. You don't really need to pay attention to Red Riding Hood's pages except for one, Strike Without Hesitation. This is a mass summation that rolls 4 to 8 and gives Red Riding Hood a strength for each person it hits. Since this attack also targets your librarians, you might choose to not use a page to give Red Riding Hood strength. Anyways, during the fight, you'll generally be looking to preserve light, inflict debuffs, and stagger the wolf when it reaches around 200 to 250 HP. From there, judge your damage, but I usually found that while the wolf is staggered, over 250 HP you won't need to worry, and 225 and below you should try and calculate it a bit. Finally, when the wolf is at around 60 HP, you should be calculating your damage to ensure that it gets killed by Red Riding Hood. Additionally, when the wolf is around 30 HP or so, we use the evades that we've been holding onto from the start of the reception. Since it has no offensive dice, there's no chance of accidentally killing the wolf with it, and it lets Red Riding Hood free hit the wolf so she's less likely to not kill the wolf. At this stage, it's definitely worth it to give Red Riding Hood strength so that she can more easily slay the wolf. After suppressing Little Red Riding Hooded Mercenary, you'll get access to these abnormality pages. Prey is a very powerful page when fighting against bosses. An average of 4 extra damage on hit will help you shred through even the tankiest enemies, as it's not affected by resistances. Vengeance is not as great. Up to 2 strength per scene is quite powerful, but reliably getting it requires a fairly large amount of build around or foresight. Rattled Welts is a more reliable power booster. When under half health, you get 1 strength. Under 35% is 2, and when your librarian is on the brink, you get a whopping 4 strength. Slap this one on Eugen and make her attacks as powerful as they would be if she were at full strength. The next reception is Scarecrow Searching for Wisdom. Compared to Red Riding Hood, this one is much easier. The fight revolves around Harvest Wisdom, which, if not clashing against the special card Wisdom, which all librarians start with a copy of, each die gains 4 power, making it roll 5. This might not seem so bad, but if the librarian gets hit, the Scarecrow recovers HP and steals a page from the librarian's hands for its own use. This is bad for 2 reasons. The first is that it means your librarian will run out of pages very quickly if you mishandle this abnormality. Second, assuming you're using strong pages, then the Scarecrow will start using those powerful pages against you. Thankfully, there are ways to prevent the Scarecrow from harvesting your pages. Obviously, the intended way is to clash with Wisdom, and that's what we'll be doing. But we can also use automated movement or an empowered faint memories to consistently beat Harvest Wisdom. If you low roll, it's rough, but you should never get your entire hand emptied in one fell swoop. Now, spamming automated movements isn't sustainable when the max emotion level is 1, so we need to refill our Wisdom cards by clashing with the Scarecrow's other pages. Rake Seeking Wisdom has a fairly strong die on 1, but if you can block or evade it, then you get a Wisdom card. The second die inflicts a strong debuff, so it'd be good to also clash into that one, but not necessary. Struggle for Wisdom has a strong evade die, and then 2 weak offensive die that both give a wisdom when blocked or evaded. I found that Mannequin works very well here. The last card is Till the Soil. This card doesn't give you any wisdoms, but if the third die hits, then you'll get inflicted with some nasty debuffs. Repressed Flesh works extremely well here, but most 3-die pages will work just as well. One thing to note is that you might want to put Liquefied Flesh or your shield on your librarians to increase the chance that they win against Harvest Wisdom. As long as you manage your wisdom and light generation, then you shouldn't have an issue with this suppression. After defeating Scarecrow Searching for Wisdom, you'll get access to these Abnormality pages. Tarnoff Wisdom is a very interesting build-around page. It basically reduces the cost of all your pages by 1, but makes it so you need to run a ton more page draw cards. I haven't tested this page very much, but it seems like it'd be powerful in very specific decks, but should be avoided otherwise. Gleaning, on the other hand, is a very powerful general use page. Since most bosses have a very high stagger amount, you can end up recovering a ton of stagger and dealing a ton of extra damage with it, as well as it being a good comeback page. Rake is a situational card. Staggering enemies doesn't happen too often, and it generally means that you're already winning, but this page can help you push over the edge in a close reception. The last abnormality is Pinocchio. This abnormality has multiple gimmicks. The first is that all of the enemies will generally use pages that the librarians bring, with each of the 3 enemies copying one of your librarians. The main boss will cast a card with incorrect information every few scenes. You need to find which one it is and clash with the special page Lying is Bad. When you do, the incorrect page will lose 4 power, all the enemies get 2 feeble and disarm, and their stagger resistances change to weak the next scene. However, if the lie doesn't clash with Lying is Bad, then all dice gain 4 power and all enemies gain 4 strength and endurance next scene. The other 2 enemies each have their own gimmick. The first one gives enemies either 2 strength or 2 endurance. This is annoying and can mess with clashes, so we focus this one down first. The other one, however, randomizes the cost of pages that are less than 4 cost. This is actually a benefit for us because it means that we can get discounted bomb pages. I like to run Repressed Flesh, 3 Automated Movement, 3 Forceful Gesture, and 2 Wrath of Torment on Emma. This suppression isn't very hard and you shouldn't have an issue as long as you know what each page in your deck does. After defeating Pinocchio, you'll get access to these Abnormality pages. Learning is an interesting page. It gives you a card that copies the page that it clashes with. It's usually not too strong, but against certain enemies with very powerful pages, it can put in a lot of work. Lies is a very powerful build-around. It gives one of your librarians the light randomization effect, letting them run a very high light cost deck. If you aren't building around it though, I would say that it can do more harm than good. The last page is Curiosity. This page makes sure that you never run out of pages and is often combined with Lies in order to create a deck with only powerful 3 cost cards. In the next video, we'll be starting the next row of Urban Nightmare. I'll see you soon, and as always, thank you for watching.